Good afternoon. My name is Len Foy, and I am a real estate attorney in Nashua, New Hampshire. I am the president and the managing attorney of Foy Law Office, PLLC, and Sunset Settlement Company, LLC. Together, these two firms conduct real estate transactions in 4 New England states: New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, and Rhode Island. The subject that I would like to cover in today's segment would be the importance of having an attorney review your purchase and sales agreement before you sign it. So, again, by way of review, my name is Len Foy, and I'm a real estate attorney in Nashua, New Hampshire. My office is located at 76 Northeastern Boulevard, Suite 26B. The zip code is 03062, and our phone number for anyone interested in calling my firm, consultations are free, would be area code 603-598-4030. Send me an email, please, at lfoy, that's lfoy, at foylawoffice.com. We can be found on the World Wide Web. My web address is www.foylawoffice.com. So, with that introductory material out of the way, let's dive right in. As a real estate attorney, I've been practicing law for just about 20 years. I have a 20-year anniversary coming up in February, which I'm very proud of. It's an important milestone for me to have been practicing for 20 years and to have had such a wonderful and fulfilling career. But in all that time, so just for about 20 years, within that span of time, I have always been handling real estate matters with some volume. So there are times when I was perhaps handling a heavy caseload of real estate matters, and times perhaps not so much. But beginning with my very first job, right out of law school, I was working on commercial and residential real estate matters in the state of California. So it's a subject that I'm very familiar with and that I have a lot of experience with. One of the things and one other piece of housekeeping, many of the videos that we've produced, and when I say we, I mean me, have been lengthy, perhaps too lengthy in some cases. I think they're wonderful videos, and I encourage people to please go watch them. They're filled with information, anecdotes about real estate, hints, tips. They're very helpful. Strategies for success, tactics, everything. But I think the longer the video sometimes, the more difficult it is to follow, the more time, the greater investment of time is required. So I'm really going to try to keep this video focused. I'm going to try to do this video in approximately 10 minutes, perhaps 15 minutes at the outside. And hopefully in that time I'll be able to offer you some valuable information about this subject. So again, the subject is the importance of having an attorney review your purchase and sales agreement before you sign it. So I try to come at these lectures making them appealing and informational, not only to people that have some experience purchasing real estate, but people who have vast experience and people who have no experience. So for everyone's benefit, a purchase and sale agreement is the legal contract which marks the formal beginning of the real estate transaction. So certainly, and when I say formal, I should say legal. So certainly the process begins when you see the property that you're interested in purchasing, and you go from seeing it to a showing, and then maybe the showing leads you to making an offer, and of course there may be an inspection. You might withdraw and then perhaps make a second offer. And by the way, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it's widely known and generally recognized that an offer does constitute a contract. So you should treat the offer, which in Massachusetts is precedent to the formal purchase and sales agreement, you should treat that as a formal legally binding contract, because that's exactly what it is. But the purchase and sales agreement is when we weave together all of the agreements that we have already made about the price, about the closing date, about appliances that are going to be included, about contingencies and perhaps other conditions. I have to sell my other property first. I have to get a job transfer first. you know, whatever the case may be. So the purchase and sales agreement is the legal document which brings together all the agreements that have already been made between buyer and seller, puts them in written form, as they must be, and basically provides the blueprint for the transaction, so that whenever there are any questions, what was the deposit, what's the loan amount, what's the closing date, what other conditions do we need to pay attention to, that will all be set forth within the four corners of the purchase and sales agreement, as we like to say. So the purchase and sales agreement is a critically important legal document that not only awards you with certain rights, but also certain responsibilities. It gives and it takes. And if you run afoul of the provisions, and when I say you, depending upon whether you happen to be the buyer or the seller, if you run afoul of the provisions set forth within the purchase and sales agreement, you stand to lose a great deal. So if you are the buyer and you default on the terms of the purchase and sales agreement, you stand to lose at a minimum your deposit. And deposits can range from $1,000 to $20,000. I've seen $50,000 deposits. So there can be a significant monetary outcome, a negative monetary outcome, for buyers who find themselves in default on a purchase and sales agreement. For a seller who defaults on a purchase and sales agreement, there isn't the concern about the instantaneous loss of money, but certainly there is the prospect of the property being tied up in court, or being having liability to a buyer who could then turn around and sue that seller for damages if the buyer was damaged in any way by the seller's default, which is frequently the case. And typically, if a seller defaults on a purchase and sales agreement, a buyer will have a very easy time of showing that they've been damaged. They paid for a home inspection, they paid for a lawyer, they paid for an appraisal, they took their kids out of the school system, they decided not to buy another house. So that'll be an easy case for a buyer to make. So just in terms of trying to set this up for you, you are signing a contract concerning the purchase or the sale of a piece of real estate, and there will be ways for you to, and there's, of course, the expectation going in is that you will perform on that contract, you will buy that house, you will sell that house, you will close, and that contract will be fully performed. But there is the possibility, of course, that one party will not be able to perform, and then we get into questions of default and damages and remedies, and it's a situation that can get quite ugly quickly. So it always astonishes me that people will go ahead and sign a purchase and sales agreement without having it reviewed by an attorney. And again, that is the subject of this segment, so we can focus all of our attention and our energies on that subject. First of all, let's talk about money. Because I think that when people don't hire a lawyer to review a purchase and sales agreement with them or for them, typically they're making that decision based on economic reasons or economic concerns. Those concerns being that they don't feel that they have sufficient money to be able to afford an attorney to review the purchase and sales agreement with them. I'd like to try to explode that myth if I can, because it's just that, it's a myth. People have this conception of lawyers, which I think is quite accurate, frankly, that lawyers are expensive, and that if you talk to a lawyer, it's going to cost you a lot of money. By and large, that's true. But I would say that real estate lawyers are probably the exception to that rule. Our fees are typically bundled or packaged so that we work frequently on a flat fee or a fixed fee, which means that our legal fee probably doesn't jump up too much unless we have to do an extraordinary amount of additional work. And even then, it's fully discussed, fully disclosed, and it's typically not a lot of money. So I like to tell people that the cost of legal services for real estate transactions is typically hundreds, not thousands of dollars. So that's what we're talking about here. And I don't want to minimize that. I realize for most people, spending $400 or $500 or $200 or $100 on a lawyer is a big deal. But nonetheless, I think that you will be pleasantly surprised that if you were to call my office or even another office and try to purchase from that attorney enough of their time so that they could do nothing more than simply review a purchase and sales agreement with you or on your behalf, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at just how inexpensive it really is. But don't take my word for it. If you are currently in the process of purchasing real estate and you are in need of an attorney to review your purchase and sales agreement, call my office. All consultations are free. We can discuss the matter together, and I'll quote you a fee that I will honor and that I will not exceed unless we run into extraordinary circumstances, which will be disclosed in advance. I have built my practice by not only providing good service and good customer service and quality legal representation, but also at an affordable price, which is a very important component of legal services. There are a lot of good lawyers out there, and I would consider myself to be among them. But I think the second most important question beyond "Are you good?" is "Can I afford you?" And you can be as great a lawyer, the greatest lawyer that ever came down the road. But if nobody can afford to use you, then what's the point? So I have tried not only to be a great lawyer, but I have tried to be affordable to those clients who are interested in retaining me. So reviewing a purchase and sales agreement is a process that, in my experience, typically takes an hour or less. So if you gave me your purchase and sales agreement, I can typically review that document and I can get back to you within 1 hour. The cost will be affordable, but I'm really reluctant to throw numbers out in this video because I think that I would only mislead people if I did that. It's different in different states, and it's different based upon commercial or residential transactions. It's different if there are other related transactions linked to it. So I think rather than try to throw out numbers that would only mislead and confuse people, a better course of action would be to contact my office for a free consultation, and so that I can provide you with a quote. I don't know that there's a lot more to add. We did a video, which again was 45 minutes in duration, in which we laid out 5 successful strategies for those people who are buying or selling real estate. Tip number 2 was have your attorney review the purchase and sales agreement before you sign it. My advice to people would be to go further than that. I would advise people to retain an attorney to represent them from the beginning of the transaction until the very end. And I think even then you would find the pricing to be quite affordable. But if resources are limited, and they frequently are, and you have to make hard and fast decisions about where you're going to be able to spend money on legal services, I think that second, most importantly would be to have an attorney review the purchase and sales agreement with you, which of course is the subject of this video. Perhaps a very close second, maybe a tie, would be to have an attorney review the settlement statement with you as a part of the closing process. Now, if you are a buyer and you are going through a lender, there will be a bank or a closing attorney that can do that for you. If you are selling real estate, in my opinion, it's critically important that you have your own attorney review that settlement statement on your behalf. So, for sellers who are viewing this video, maybe hire an attorney to try to package three different tasks. Review your purchase and sales agreement, prepare your deed, and review the settlement statement on your behalf at closing. So, that would be my advice for the day. I love making these videos. I don't know if it always comes across because sometimes I feel that it's awkward, or maybe my delivery or my presentation isn't as smooth as I would like it to be. But in terms of my own personal enjoyment, I find producing these videos and broadcasting these videos to be endlessly entertaining. I love what I do. I have a real passion for the practice of law. Practicing law is something that I always wanted to do. So I really feel that when I became an attorney, it was a dream come true. And for 20 years now, I've been living that dream. And I feel very blessed and very privileged that I have the opportunity to practice law. It's something that I derive great enjoyment from. But again, real estate law is the focus and the concentration of my practice. And I think that if you are in the process of buying or selling real estate in any of the states where we are active and licensed, I think you would find working with my office to be a pleasure. and reasonably priced, and I would love nothing more than to be your attorney. So rather than let this video go on too long, which I think only takes away from it, we'll probably leave it there. Again, I've already provided some contact information. My name is Len Foy, and I'm a real estate attorney in Nashua, New Hampshire. Please call my office at area code 603-598-4030 or shoot me an email. I'm very good about getting back to people. My email address is lfoy@foylawoffice.com. I'm on the web, the World Wide Web, of course, at www.foylawoffice.com. So I wish you nothing but the greatest success in calendar year 2015. I think it's going to be a wonderful year. I'm very optimistic about it for personal and professional reasons. And if you are contemplating buying or selling real estate this year or at any time, please call my office for a free consultation. I would love to put together some kind of an arrangement or an agreement with you so that I can be your attorney throughout that process. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful 2015, and thank you very much for tuning into this video. Bye for now.